Hey there, I'm Kat and this is Brews and Reviews. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys a wrap up of all the books that I read in February. Let's get straight into it. So the first book I picked up was Captured by the Sea Monster by Angelica Oakes. This is a short story I picked up because I'm taking part in the Buzzword Readathon, and this month's theme was water, sea monster, a very short story about a monster romance. A woman is getting sacrificed to the sea monster to have his sea monster babies, and then she can go and be free. So she's like, a great deal because I don't want to marry some old man. And then she ends up liking the sea monster. So yeah, very short monster romance. Enjoyable enough. It was only about 50 something pages. I couldn't really give it more than 3.5 stars because there was not much that happened. Like, the smut was good enough, the characters were nice enough to each other, which is always good. And that's all that really happened in this book. They just banged a lot. The next book I picked up was The Tower of Nero by Rick Riordan. This is the final book in the Trials of Apollo series, and I'm so glad that I finally finished this series. I can't say too much about the plot for this one because it is book 5 in the series, but essentially we follow the god Apollo, who has been cast out of Olympus because he annoyed Zeus and has been turned into a mortal until he can regain his godhood. So we're following all of his trials. And this book was really interesting to me because I really liked the events of this book, and I really liked the combination of everything that was happening in the series and where various characters ended up. I think for me, this series was one book too long. And if we'd have just cut out maybe book 3, I think definitely book 3 because that was the worst book in this series, then this whole series would have been much better and stronger as a whole. But as it was fun, and it did like hit some emotional beats for me, which I really enjoyed. And I ended up rating it 4.5 out of 5 stars because I really enjoyed it. But I'm also finding now that like a lot of the plot points have escaped me. It's only been a month since I read it, and like I should be able to remember more than I do of what happened in that book. That's something to think about. Then next up I read Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Now this is a reread for me, and I picked it up because it was the Patreon book club for Cat at Stars and Embers, and I was like, I just love Pride and Prejudice, and it's been so long since I reread it, so I was like, I'm gonna take this opportunity, join in with this, even though I'm not usually great with book clubs, but this was fun. I didn't realize how much this was actually a comfort read to me. I know that the 2005 adaptation is a comfort watch for me, and I watch it all the time because I just love it, and I just get so happy when I watch it. And I didn't realize that I was going to get the same feelings rereading it because I don't think I had that the first time I read it, but I adored this, and I feel like it is definitely cranked up on the comfort read scale for me. It's like, I could read this, I could read Lord of the Rings, I will be happy either way. If you don't know, Pride and Prejudice follows the 5 Bennet sisters as they navigate life as unmarried women in Jane Austen's time who are not set to inherit anything. There's romance, there's misunderstandings, there's Pride and Prejudice, funnily enough. But it is so fun, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm so glad that I reread this. It was 5 out of 5 stars, obviously. I'm not gonna lie, I feel like I was having a really good month because I picked up another 5 out of 5 stars straight away. And that was Lights Out by Nevessa Allen. This book was so good. Okay, let's go to the plot first. The book follows this ER nurse who is overworked, she doesn't have much time for herself, and occasionally she likes to go on TikTok and follow some mask talkers. And if you don't know what a mask talker is, it is somebody who posts thirst traps wearing a mask. And she thinks it's really hot. Well, one day she opens up a video and sees that one of the mask talkers that she follows has taken a video inside her room, and she is being stalked by this mask talker. And that sounds like this book should be really dark, but it's so funny. It has a really great dark humor to it, and it is like the perfect mix of like the smutty stuff and the humor. And I completely recommend the audiobook for this. I was like audio and reading at the same time, but the audiobook narrators are so funny. They are so perfect for these characters, and the way that they embody them is just hilarious. I can't recommend it enough. There's a lot of fun banter, there is a cat in here, and there's a lot of like cat parent jokes, which I just really adored because obviously I'm a cat parent. And the smut is really good too. Both of the characters have their traumas and they work through it together, and it's like, perfect. And I feel like it's gonna end up on my favorites of the year already. I feel like I know this, so really enjoyed it. 5 out of 5 stars. Next up I picked up 19 Steps by Millie Bobby Brown. This is a book that Jenna from Just a Little Bit Random recommended to me ages ago, and I read it with Emily from Novelle Novels as a buddy read. Now, this is not the type of book that I normally read. I feel like I have to say that before I read it because it is historical fiction in the wartime, which is really not a time period that I like at all for historical fiction. Like World War II and the Tudor times, not for me. However, Jenna made this book sound really good, and I was like, okay, I'm in for it. And I actually ended up really enjoying it. I have to say it is a young adult book, which I was kind of expecting it to be more adult than it was, but it does read very YA, and there were certain points in time where I was like, I feel like I'm in GCSE history class, and that is part of the reason that I avoid this. Because I studied World War II a lot in high school, and I feel like I know way too much about it. So I didn't love when it was like, and we just need to point out that this is a thing that happened in World War II, and I was like, well, I know. But I do realise not everyone has that experience, so like, fair enough. So while the characters in this book are fictional, the actual plot of the book does centre on a specific disaster that happened in Bethnal Green Underground Station, which was apparently the greatest civilian disaster of World War II, which is just amazing, because I'm like, how have I never heard about that? Because, I mean, when you find out what it was really, really horrible, and this book really described that well, and it is really horrible, and the way that it is written is really intense. I know this was written by a ghostwriter with like Millie Bobby Brown's ideas and stuff, but just still, the rest of the book is like really YA and nice, and it's like, oh, there's a bit of romance here and a bit of relationships, and then it's like, oh, this horrible thing has just happened, and then it's like grief throughout the rest of the book, because wow, it's pretty intense. Really good, very intense. Recommend looking up what happened in Bethnal Green Underground Station, because like, damn. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, which I was very surprised by, but the emotions really hit me. Next up, I was sent an ARC of Those That Don't Exist by Elle Reid. Now this actually came out a couple of days ago and is now available on Kindle Unlimited. If you want to check it out, I do recommend it. It was 4 out of 5 stars. So this is a book set in a world where fae, humans, vampires and shifters all coexist with each other, except there was a war and the vampires have all been exterminated, and the shifters are also pretty low on their numbers. Now while the rest of the world think the vampires have been exterminated completely, there are vampires that did survive and live in secret, and they're trying to create more female vampires, because female vampires can only be created if there is like a specific lineage to the people who were created. But anyway, we start off the book following our main male character, who is watching over this woman in a hospital bed. She was in a car accident as they have tried to turn her into a vampire, and that was the cover, and this sort of develops this forbidden romance between them eventually. It's really good. I really enjoyed it. I think the banter was really fun, and I really liked the world building. I think there were some really different things in here that I haven't really read in vampire books before, so I really enjoyed that. The smut was good when it appeared, and I have to say, the end of this book made me want to throw my phone across the room, in a good way, but like, I did actually scream out loud, "Are you kidding me?" when a specific thing happened, and I can't elaborate on that. You just have to read it and find out. But I'm so mad as a reader, but like as a writer, I'm like, that's a really good place to end that book. But like, as a reader, so annoyed. But at least the next book comes out, I think, later this year, so she's not going to leave us waiting for too long, and I'm really happy about that, because like, need to know what happens. Anyway, I rated it 4 out of 5 stars, really enjoyed, and I can't wait to see more books written in this world, because I feel like there is a lot of potential in this world. After that, I picked up Long Live Evil by Sarah Rees Brennan, and I really enjoyed this book. I have posted a mini review of this one, so I'll leave it in the description below if you want to go check that out. It's going to have more detailed thoughts than what I can give you here, but essentially we follow a woman called Ray who is dying of cancer, and she gets given the opportunity to go inside her favourite book, find a specific flower that will heal her in the real world. She just has to live until the flower blooms, and that only happens once a year. Unfortunately, when she wakes up in the body of the villainess of the book, who is about to be murdered the next day, and she has to talk her way out of it. This book is so funny, it's very irreverent, and there are some such great points about this. If you love villains, but like also campy villains, then this is really fun, and I think it will really appeal to you. I don't want to say any more. Go check out my review if you want to know more about this book, but it's so worth reading. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. It was a great book. And the last book that I picked up this month was Iron and Embers by Helen Schroeder. This book takes place in a world that is trying to recover from war, and we follow a poisoner who was deeply involved in that war, and her bodyguard. They knew each other in the war, then separated, and have been reunited as the poisoner has been accepted into an alchemy school that she's been trying to get into for 5 years. And there's some really fun stuff, because obviously it's a little bit forbidden romance, but they have a magical connection due to something that happened in the war. And there's also like a competition-based element to this in what is actually happening in the school, which I really enjoyed. I love a bit of competition in my books. And honestly, I really enjoyed a lot of this book. I thought a couple of things were a tiny bit predictable, but my biggest problem with this book was the end. And I am so annoyed that it ended where it ended. I could see it coming and I was like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And then this specific thing happened, and I hate this specific thing. It's a personal preference thing, but the way it ended really put me off, and I probably am not going to read the next book in it, because I just hate when this specific thing happens. And I feel like I have to tell you what it is, but if you don't want any spoilers, then just wait till I put my hand down, okay? It is when the two main characters have gotten together and everyone's like, oh my god, well, great, it's gonna be great, and then they break up. And one of them has to go and be all noble and self-sacrificing and be like, yeah, I don't want you anymore, even though they obviously do because of some other reason. And I just want them to communicate and be honest with each other, and then you can both decide together what is best for you. It makes me so angry. I just think it's so irrelevant and such a stupid plot point, and I wish it would never happen in books, and now I'm just ranting about that plot point. But it also made me want to not read the next book in this series, so I'm probably not going to continue with the series because that happened, because it's going to be such a prevalent part of the next book, and I'm like, I just don't want that to happen in books. I don't enjoy when that happens, and it just really affects everything. I just hate it. Okay, I'm done with that. I enjoyed the two main characters and their romance. I like that. I like that there was history. I like that we have like some PTSD elements from the war and like the consequences of what certain people did in the war. I thought that was really interesting. But yeah, I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars. It was gonna be a 4 till the end, and then it wasn't. So yes, those are all the books that I read in February. Let me know if you've read any of these. If you made it this far into the video and you just want to let me know you were here, then leave a light bulb emoji for lights out. I mean, the light bulb can be on. It made sense in my head, okay? And if you like this video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!